Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. Happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. Mother's Day edition of our Sunday night live streams. So we appreciate all you guys joining us. I know it's a very special day for all the mothers in our lives, but you took some time to join us. We really appreciate it. Thanks also to Jerry Hamilton and the man, the myth, the legend, Bobby Burton joining us as well. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Please throw out your questions, comments. We'll talk about anything that you guys want to talk about. Any direction you want to go. Super Chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. Texas football, of course, is our top priority, but I know you guys thinking about Texas baseball. No, Texas softball, of course, could be a big topic of conversation as well. So you guys want to talk about it, we'll get into it. And of course, recruiting did have a big commitment in the 2026 class on Friday. So Longhorn fans still buzzing from that commitment. We can talk about that a little bit as well and that 2026 class. But gentlemen, a lot to get into here on the show today. I know there's already some questions and super chats piling up. But anything top of mind you want to get off your chest to start?
The baseball team is got a 2-game lead after they lost 2 of 3 to Florida.
Yep.
Week after getting swept by Arkansas. If it weren't for late inning heroics by Jonah Williams, I'm not so sure. Freshman, I'm not so sure Texas isn't 0 for its last 6 in conference. But Texas still has a 2-game lead in conference. They play Oklahoma this coming weekend. They win the series, they win the conference in the regular season. Yeah. I doubt they're ranked number 1 when the polls come out tomorrow, given this fact. Let me give you this number. The last 6 games in conference, Texas has been outscored 42-17.
Damn.
42-17.
Wow.
Longhorns got some work ahead of them on the diamond. Ever since their number 1 starter went down on Friday night, it's been pulling teeth to get W's. Even against A&M, a team that, by the way, just got swept by 0-24 Missouri this week.
Missouri
not making the tournament.
No,
dang, that's crazy.
Not making it at all.
That will be the final nail for a coaching change.
Oh God! I mean, if losing to 0-20, they got swept by 0. Missouri was 0 for the conference. They had gotten swept 8 times in conference play. They swept A&M this weekend.
And Aggies were enough. Were they a top number 1 seed?
They were the number 1 ranked preseason.
Oh, has that ever happened?
Very rare. Very rare.
Number 1 not even make the turn to postseason.
So we had Kendall Rogers on of D1 baseball about a month and a half ago when the season was just getting started. He said it was the fastest fall from grace of a number 1 team in college baseball history. Like out of the top 25, fastest team ever. But look, we can talk about the Aggies all we want, but the Longhorns have a 2-game lead. LSU and Arkansas are the 2 teams they got to worry about. But they got to go and, they got to win.
They got to win the OU series because they lost the series to Arkansas. Tie means you're out. Tie means you don't win it outright. So Texas has to go to Norman and win the series coming up. Bottom line,
big time. And I just want to also say I want to echo something that Rod B said. Happy Mother's Day to all mothers out there.
Yes,
appreciate you guys. I appreciate you women. I'll put it that way better.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, now other things. Softball lost out in the semifinals to A&M. Texas A&M is the number 1 overall seed in college softball. Number 2, I believe, is Oklahoma. They did not play a final in the SEC championship. Rod and Jerry, they canceled it because of weather. So there was no SEC champion in softball. They were co-champions, but both 1 and 2 nationally in the seedings.
7 of the top 8 seeds, I believe, are SEC teams.
Texas is number 6.
Texas is 6 overall. So if they win their regional, they'll probably play at Florida in the super regional.
Okay. Interesting, man. Both the Texas rivals, 1 and 2.
Yes. Yeah.
Look, we talk about what is the toughest sport in the SEC. No offense, baseball, but this season it seems like it's actually softball. 7 of the top 8 seeds in the NCAA tournament are from 1 conference. Wake me up if that's ever happened again before. I doubt it has.
That's a good point. All right. Got a super chat here from Scott already. Scott, thank you. Said 34 years young today. Happy B-Day, Scott. And love the channel and all you guys. Well, thank you very much, Scott. Very kind of you. We appreciate the super chat. Yeah, Jerry just celebrated his B-Day. What you do? What you do for your B-Day, Jerry? What'd you do?
I walked 8 miles. I looked at clear blue water in southern Florida, and I had dinner with some old friends. I'm down here working. So I had some dinner with some old buddies from where I used to live down here in Jupiter.
That's cool, brother. Yeah, that's good.
Are you going to see Dia Bell tomorrow? Who are you going to see tomorrow?
Derek Cooper at Chaminade Madonna tomorrow. Then I got to go to the West Coast Tuesday to see Sam Roseborough, Kendall Gerville Wednesday. It's supposed to be some bad weather early in the week. Then I'm going to come back and see Justice Fitzpatrick, I believe, Thursday, and James Johnson and Dia Bell Friday, potentially.
Gotcha.
I got to get the guys that aren't committed first. So if I have time to get Dia, I will. But, that one got canceled today because of Mother's Day.
Hey, did y'all see what Kelvin Banks signed for? Ooh, Matt's got the tweet ready for us. Rod B, you take it. You ever sign a contract list like this, Rod B?
No, man. Not even all the contracts I signed combined wouldn't have. I don't know if it even comes close to $27.7 million over 4 years for Kelvin Banks. Congratulations. That's quite the accomplishment, man. That's a hell of an achievement. It really is. Generational wealth. Good for you.
Yes.
He earned it too.
He earned
it. Gunnar Helm signed his contract. He had his Gunnar Helm, by the way, this is hilarious. So Gunnar Helm signed his contract, I think 2 days ago now. And the next day he was going out there for the Savannah banana slugs. Bananas. They had a game, a exhibition game in Nashville. And so like moments after or a day after he signs with the Titans, he's doing a promo for the Savannah Bananas. So all those guys doing their thing. I saw a video of Quinn working out for the Dolphins as well. A lot of guys out there. I'm talking to someone tomorrow, actually. I have one more thing for you, Jerry.
Yeah, because we have breaking news.
Okay. So talking to someone tomorrow about Alfred Collins. I'm talking to a San Francisco 49er beat writer. He said Alfred Collins has still got a calf strain, so he's not doing a lot right now. But he is one of the talks of their camp because he just looks so damn good, is what he said.
Yeah.
So, breaking news. Go for it, Jerry. Sorry.
Whoa.
Abby Burton's first ever comment in On Texas football history.
I do believe that's the case.
That's breaking news.
There you go. Boom. Classy one too.
Yeah.
Classy one.
That's for her mom. That's
a bored college student right there chiming in on the chat.
There you go. Hey, it's helping the demo, man. We need to trying to stay young.
Hey, congrats. I mean, actually, my daughter's graduating this coming weekend.
Oh, there's congratulations.
Congratulate all the Texas athletes, by the way, that graduated on Saturday. Commencement. I mean, there were a number that absolutely finished their degrees at the University of Texas. Always a proud moment for those guys too.
Yeah,
to see it.
Good point there, Bobby. And congrats to Abby too on the graduation. That's big stuff. That's pretty damn cool. All right, Griffith says we should talk about this a little bit. Jonah is a competitor.
Yes.
That guy is a beast. Yes. There was a lot of drama with Jonah Williams over the weekend from that Florida series. Apparently in the game that they lost, the game 2, there was trash talk by Jonah Williams, and then of course the clutch play, the clutch hit in game 3, the game winner for him. So he did back up the trash talk. But what are you guys' thoughts about him? He was I don't know what Schloss said about it, but he was pretty fiery. I know he had to leave the game with a cramp or something.
Yeah, look, this is why I'm gonna sit here and keep saying this. I like this guy as a possible freshman kick and punt return guy for Texas because there's a fearlessness and reckless abandon about him. And I think that's going to, and I think he was a really good return man in high school, partially because of that. But I think the guy's built for the return game in college football. I mean, he's got a Silas Bolden fearlessness about him. And sometimes you have to channel those guys, but you can't really replicate those guys. They either have it or they don't. You can't force that.
Rod, I agree with Jerry on this. I mean, it's one of those guys that, he better, the one thing about Jonah, and this is what happened on Friday night, it was game 1, actually. And it was the 8th inning, and Texas was down like 7 or 8-1. Okay. And Jonah Williams took a walk and celebrated like he had just, I don't know, walked in a run or got him back within a single digits or something. But he celebrated a walk. Okay. That did not sit well with the Florida faithful or the Florida team. Well, come back on Saturday night. Texas was, I think it was 2-2, and Williams in the 8th inning hit a run, a bases loaded double, drove in 3 runs to give Texas the 5-2 win. And so, to your point, he also came up a little hamstring tightened, but he was back in the. Some people are saying, well, he was injured himself. He was back in the lineup today, so it's not that serious. But look, to y'all's point, I mean, it's nice if you can do that and actually back it up. That's all I'll say. Because when you don't back it up, that's when it looks bad, right? But he can back it up a little bit, Rod.
And look, those are guys that he's just not scared of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
He embraces the moment. And all guys have to mature, right? But he embraces the moment. It's like arguably some of the biggest plays he made, and he made a lot his senior year in high school before the clavicle injury, was the night that I was at the game against Port Arthur Memorial, and Sarkisian and Blake Gideon were there. And it's almost like he flipped another switch in that game. And there's a video out there. There's a tweet out there when he made an interception, ran down the field pointing at Sark. It's just the guy kind of lives for that. And that's a great place to be if you're Texas winning that recruitment, because, you look for the guys who are going to make the biggest plays and aren't scared of the moment. He's just one of those guys. Now, he's got to stay healthy like anybody else, but he's not scared of the moment. And when you walk out and do that in baseball right out of the gate, I mean, he obviously had a huge hit on Saturday. Even his first time he really started that weekend series, the guy's just not scared of the moment. He embraces the moment. And every coach in every sport looks for those guys. That's what you're trying to recruit.
Gives you a little juice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's got tons of them, man. And like I said, just watching him on the football field, I think he's, like I said, he was good enough to win the Thorpe. I don't know if he ever will, but he's got that kind of potential.
Yeah, you're on it.
Baseball right now. All right. Thank you for that, Griff. How about KD35? I'm the best. Says Jerry, I heard a rumor last night Texas was going this week to see a 2027 QB.
Well, I can say this. That's all AJ Milwee is really doing, because he is a quarterback coach evaluator. Now he has his little pocket area in the Austin ISD, but that's what he's doing. He'll go see Diabell, but around Diabell, you already have your 26 quarterback commitment. He's going to see all the 2027s, whether that's Peyton Houston, whether that's Malachi Ziegler, whether that is Rivers, whether that's Jerry Meyer at Waxahachie. That's what he is doing. And he works in a great spot from a recruiting standpoint, because the quarterbacks commit so early. All he's doing right now is going out to see 2027s, kind of getting a feel for who they want to get to camp this summer, and even looking at some 2028s. I mean, that's kind of what he does. So he is out and about seeing all the quarterbacks in 2027 that are on Texas's radar, and then some that maybe end up on Texas radar. He's got one of the best jobs going as a recruiter, because he outside of his Austin area schools, he literally goes and sees all the top quarterbacks.
All right. All right. Thank you for that. K35, I'm the best. Let's thank our friends over at Rogue Shop before we continue our live stream. Thank you to our friends at Rogue Shop, our sponsor of our Sunday night live stream, rogueshop.com. Rogue Shop is bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Make sure to use that discount code. You see it right there on your screen, on Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our very special friends over at rogueshop.com. Rogue Shop has it all, from oils and creams to flour, gummies, and vitamins. And And right now they're shipping nationwide. No matter where you are in this great country of ours, they can ship their fantastic products to you. Just make sure to use that code on Texas and you'll get a discount no matter what you're buying from our friends over at Rogue Shop. Use the discount code on Texas. No matter if you're dealing with sleep issues, sleep deprivation, anxiety, maybe it's just aches and pains, random aches and pains from battling Father Time, or maybe from your old playing days. Like me, our friends over at Rogue Shop have a variety of different items to help you remedy a lot of different ailments that you may have and treat them. So check out rogueshop.com. Really appreciate them for sponsoring our Sunday night live stream. All right, let's get back to questions. So we're talking baseball here before we get back to football. Syracuse Horn wants to know, did baseball peak too early? Not the best way to go into the postseason.
I think injuries have caught up with them a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Jerry, by the way, Texas has a 3-game lead on Arkansas. And
I think it's 2. Arkansas won today, correct? So I think it's 2.
No, they're 17-9 and LSU's 17-9. Texas is 20-6. So Texas has a 3-game lead.
Yeah, but that's not updated. So Texas dropped to 20-7, and I think Arkansas went to 18.
I got it. There you go.
By the way, I was wrong on softball. Mike in Maryland, somebody else pointed that out. Texas, Florida wouldn't be super regional. Texas would host a super regional. The first top 8 teams actually host super regionals if they advance.
All right. Thank you for that. How about this one from Patrick Smith? He said, does Texas have a top 5 O-line in the SEC?
Good
or
question.
Top 10? I did hear, I think it was Cole Pubic actually. It did. I think he was on nationally top 5 O-lines, and he had Texas. He did mention at the end, he did not have Texas in his top 5, but he didn't mention at the end that he thinks Texas has the potential to be, an elite O-line by the end of the season. But what are your guys' thoughts? Top 5 in the SEC?
What's interesting about that is, so Texas, Georgia, and LSU lost, I think, 4 starters off their offensive line. So there's a lot of teams that lost a lot of guys off that OL. I'm guessing he probably has Florida pretty high. He probably has Tennessee pretty high, although they lost their center. And he's probably got Alabama, even though they lost Booker, pretty high. I think Texas will end up with a top 5 OL at the end of the day, guys. Question I have is, will Georgia? Because if they don't, it's going to be an interesting season for Georgia.
I think it's going to be an interesting season for Georgia no matter what with their quarterback.
I agree. Somebody predicted 4 losses for them that would.
Yeah. Florida is the one that you need to circle. We'll see. Because I also think that part of these offensive lines and rankings, Rod and Jerry, depend on the style of play you have. I mean, I'll give you an example. Okay. Baylor used to have these offensive lines that were ranked really high, but then they'd go in the draft, they wouldn't do much. Like, they just weren't that good. But for what Art Briles asked them to do, they were really good. I think there are pieces of Florida like that with their inside zone game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that fits Florida. I think Alabama, to Jerry's point. I could be convinced that Alabama, if they get good quarterback play, I'm not sure Ty Simpson's the answer there, but if they get good quarterback play, might be a dark horse for the SEC championship. So I think they've got a good football team this year.
So I want to follow up. So Roger says, I don't know about that. I think, Jerry, top 10. If Texas, say, only has the 7th or 8th best offensive line in the SEC this year, what's their record?
I don't know that it changes much.
That's a great question, actually. Because I do think Arch will be better at sack avoidance. So I do think some of the pressure that Quinn caved under oftentimes, I think Arch actually can, either get into the scramble drill or just scramble and make some plays to avoid that. Then I get back to what Bobby's talking about the running game. And the style of, the running game, the identity of the running game, right? Texas was a heavy outside zone team last year? Was that mostly because of the running backs and the lack of depth there because of injuries, or was it because you just had elite tackles and that's where you ran? I'm still not sure about that too. So I do think it's a combination of that. The identity of the run game, like Bobby said, and your quarterback can often help the perception of your O-line. Because they'll go back and they may not give us up as many pressures, or you may be able to at times, like Texas, right? Texas had 1,000-yard rusher, and yet we know that in games against real good defenses, Texas running game, well, most of them, Clemson had a good defense and Texas still shredded, and A&M had a good defense and they shredded that defense. But Georgia, Ohio State, Texas run game didn't show up. Arizona State didn't show up either. So there was times where you could take away Texas running game. If you got a good running game, they shouldn't be able to take it away completely. And there were times they took the run game just completely away for Texas. And I think that's what Sark wants to avoid. That's why at the Touchdown Club, he said, we got to start getting back to running the football. And I think he basically means like, we should never be essentially shut down in the running game. And they were shut down like 4 times last year, like just shut down, got nothing going. And they can't have that. You got to be able to get something out of the run game pretty much.
Too close to pay attention said, did Florida lose as many linemen as we did, or am I tripping? I think they have at least 3 returning starters back, guard, center, guard, Kanijah Harris, Jake Slaughter, one of the top centers in the country, Damian George, their best run blocker. So I think guard, center, guard for sure they return. They may have returned 3.5 starters, maybe half a starter. At one of the tackle spots who started half the year.
All right. All right. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's a good question, though. We appreciate that one. All right. Getting back to the question here. How about this from Buster? 1958 says, waiting the arrival of Nick Townsend, tight end, state 4x200 champ. This is his birthday today. Did I see that? Was that?
Yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Townsend B-Day shout out I saw out there. I mean, I've heard multiple times. CJ actually has been, I think, on this bandwagon probably for the last couple of months, that when he arrives on campus, that he's going to be a different type of tight end than Texas has had. That there's a physical presence to him at the tight end position that maybe Texas has been lacking. Also, can do the things that the Sark tight end needs to do.
Yeah.
Be a threat in the receiving game. Your Gunnar Helms, your JT Sanders, what we expect from the tight ends at obviously Jordan Washington, but he's got a physicality that those guys just really didn't have as a part of their natural skills that they got to develop at the NFL level, that he's got it already.
And a downfield speed that maybe Texas hasn't had since Jermichael Finley.
Ooh.
I mean, I think, look, in a very talented program, when he steps on campus, he reports May 31st. And he said on an interview last week on Talking Ball with Bobby and I, then he has to come back for high school graduation on the 1st or 2nd. They have a later graduation. But when he reports to Texas guys, I think he's a top 5-6 pound for pound athlete in the whole program.
Ooh, wow. Good.
Rod, I don't know if you saw that interview, but he gained 12 pounds during track season and still ran 21.6 200 meters. He was 228 on February, whatever the signing day was. They had a mock signing day, even though he already signed when I was at Decaney. He was 228. He ended up being 240 pounds at the state meet, but his times didn't drop. 21.6 at 238, 240 pounds is pretty crazy.
Rod's like, wait a minute.
No, but that's kind of what I was kind of running. I'm like, what the hell, man? I was
That's
like,
wild number.
But he had you by 65 pounds in high school.
I'm just trying to wrap my brain around it, man. That's just something. No, you brought up something, Jerry. Now you have me intrigued. You say if he steps into the locker room, he's already one of the top 5 raw athletes. Which I'm not saying you're wrong. I just want to know who are the other 4.
Oh.
Pound for pound athletes.
Pound for pound.
Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons are 2.
Cade Phillips.
Ooh, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
That made me feel good.
I heard something good about him today, talking to somebody as well. Offensively, Ryan Wingo.
Maybe right in there in that conversation.
Yeah.
Man, so the Young Bucks, a lot of Young Bucks.
I'll tell you, sleepers, Jelani McDonald, pound for pound.
I was going to throw him out there.
Yeah. He's a good basketball player too, wasn't he, Jerry?
Yeah. Here's a great question. One of our hoops guys, Kendall Weaver, Nick Townsend, which is the better athlete? This will shock people. I'm not sure Kendall Weaver is the best pound for pound athlete on the campus in men's sports, out in the major sports.
Wow.
He's a total freak, guys. Total freak. Bobby, his testing numbers.
No. It depends on how you define athlete. Okay.
Oh no, he's fast. He's a freak.
I know. All the jump and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, combine stuff.
I have no problem with you saying that.
Yeah. Oh,
but eye-hand coordination. I don't know. Things like that have to matter too a little bit.
My bet is if Kendall Weaver walked away from basketball tomorrow, he'd be an NFL safety.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's a freak, man.
Can I suggest he do that then? Because he ain't up in. Seriously, you got to be able to shoot if you're his size in the NBA. And he's just, what is he, a 30% shooter behind the arc?
He'll probably be 35 with Sean Miller. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He'll play overseas and make a decent living as a basketball player. He may will himself to a G League contract, which nowadays is about $500,000 to $750,000 a year, depending on if you're a two-way player. But I don't know. I've seen him in person with a basketball workout, and his explosivity is just different. It's just different at his size. Because he's a bigger guy than people think. He's 6'3", 195.
Here's what I want to say, okay? Like Jonah Williams.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that explosivity.
But hand-eye coordination,
man,
that kind of stuff matters to me. That's what I was getting at. Like, I agree he's not as springy of an athlete, right? But there are aspects of Jonah Williams that you would definitely take over Kendall Weaver from an athleticism standpoint. That's all. There's different kinds of athletes.
Yeah. You didn't even put Jonah in your top 5 when you were talking about pound for pound.
He's close. He's close.
That's how loaded that roster is with just raw athleticism. No, that's crazy. All right. Nick has
wait, I gotta ask Jerry.
Go ahead.
Of the freshman receivers, who's the most athletic?
Oh,
Michael Terry, French.
Michael Terry. Is it 6'2", 6'3", 215? He ran 10.8 as a junior in high school. Just from a length, testing numbers, it's probably him. Khalid Lockett's a young kid, and I think there's always going to be guys that run a faster 40 and maybe have better testing numbers than Lockett, but he is such a 50-50 ball winner guy. He's got great body control as an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I think Michael Terry, pound for pound, is a great athlete.
Those are those 4 big athletes: Cade Phillips, Jonah Williams, Nick Townsend, Michael Terry.
Yeah.
All in this class.
Yeah.
We talked about that when they signed too.
Yeah.
Texas is signing some big athletes.
Yeah. And if you look at guys who are 6'5", 260 plus, Lance Jackson is up there, pound for pound. Mm-hmm. And Justice Terry is as well. They have a great class. This is the reason they're ranked number 1.
Yeah, that's a tough list to make, man. You saw that pound for pound list keeps growing and growing. Yeah, it is. That's
Hey, Rod, who was the best? Was it Roy Williams was the best you played with, pound for pound, or was it Jam? It was
pound
Roy.
For pound athlete?
Had to be Roy, right?
Yeah, Roy was a freak, man. I'm trying to think if there's somebody that
Eric Johnson.
Huff was a hell of an athlete. Huff was a great athlete coming in. I remember there was some talk that maybe he could run some track, run track as well coming in. He was a freakish athlete. Oh man, we did have some guys, but yeah, Roy was.
Sean Rogers, pound for pound, was probably up there when you consider he's 3.
A lot of pounds. A lot of pounds on him.
Yeah, he was one of those. Even my man Corey Redding was a great athlete. I know it sounds crazy, but dude came in. He ended up playing D tackle in the league.
Yeah.
And he used to run down on kickoffs with us when he first got there and make plays on kickoff.
Yeah.
Ended up playing D tackle in the league.
So he is a lot like Lance Jackson in this way. He's a power athlete. They are Does that make sense to y'all? Like,
Yeah,
not these weave in and out of traffic, kind of like Percy Harvin type athletes.
Yes.
Yeah.
These are the power. You're talking about power athletes.
Hey, Rod, I just want to ask you a question.
Corey was a power athlete.
That's a good description, Bobby. I like that because I remember him. We used to have a warning with C-Red because, man, C-Red was famous for friendly fire. Like, he would come in and he's going to blow up when he comes, he's going to blow up everything. Like, C-Red, can you direct your madness to just the opponent and just not take everybody out? But he was coming with reckless abandon. To your point, he was just kind of he was power, man. He was.
Hey, Rod, I got a question for you. I thought about it, and I think about it every year. And it sucks to bring up. How good a player was Cole Pittman going to be?
Oh, I think Cole Pittman would have been an NFL player.
I think so too. Bobby, I mean, you scouted him in high school.
I think
played hard.
I don't know.
Played hard.
I don't know. I don't know that he had the size.
Yeah.
To be an NFL player. Horrible what happened, but yeah, I'd probably, in all honesty, I'd probably come up short on that in that respect. The guy that would have had a great career, in my opinion, that was a defensive end that just
Brian Pickrell.
Is Brian Pickrell.
He was an NFL pass rusher, man.
Yeah, he was like 6'6", 220. But if he would have just had some time to get some weight on him. But they had to play back then, they had to play all early, Rod. If you could play a lick under Mac, you had to play early.
You played
that career because
otherwise,
I mean, they didn't have the depth they're building now.
Yeah, they started registering guys till afterwards. Like after that, the first few classes they brought in.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. They had to, and he was a guy that really needed it. He really needed it.
I've never told this story on here because somebody DM me, asked me for a story. So I'm going to do one real quick. So, and I always bring this up, and I know we got other stuff to get to, but people may not remember Rick Barnes had a 2-man signing class when TJ Ford signed. The other guy was Chris Wright, a 6'10" power forward from Redwater, probably the only athlete Redwater's ever produced that was a major school guy like that. He blew out both ACLs. I think so he had 3 ACLs. To this day, I think he's the most talented player that never saw the court at Texas in basketball. Rick Barnes and Springman, all those guys said, this guy is really good. Nobody knows it. I went up to Redwater to see him. I thought he might have been a lottery pick. He was unbelievably talented. Chris Wright, for those that never saw it, never researched it, he wasn't ranked high. He was 6'10", could jump out of the gym, could shoot it from 3. He was like an athletic version of Brian Boddicker. He was really talented amongst the most talented kids I've never seen touch a basketball court for injury reasons.
Wow. That's crazy. All right. Good story, Jerry. As always, Nick here says, Jerry, one for you. Thank you for the super chat, Nick. We appreciate that. He says, Jerry, did Texas look at Tiki Ola out of Bastrop?
Yes. Like Tiki, I'm not sure they pushed hard on Tiki. I also think there's a part of that recruitment that Tiki just wanted to go away from school. So it's just one of those. It's one of those kids that just wanted to do something different. But Texas liked him. I'm not sure they loved him size-wise for what they're looking for. But I think he's a really good player.
All right. Thank you, Nick. We appreciate the super chat there. All right. How about this one from Cisco? I'll take this one real quick. Says Cisco here, says, Rod B, do you see Texas running cover 1? They'll run more of it. They ran some cover 1 last year, some man-to-man. I mean, they ran probably in between 15 and 19%, a little under 20% man-to-man, depending on what DB you're looking at. But I think they want to get to around a quarter of the coverage being cover 1. And then everybody throws in, like, sprinkles in some cover 0, like situationally, like maybe in a red zone or like a blitz situation. So say you get a 2% cover 0 rate or something like that. So maybe, and that's also considered man. That's the most extreme form of man. Cover 1, essentially, for those who don't know, is when we have a single safety in the middle of the field. That's your cover 1 because that's your single high safety. and that's your single middle field help defender. All right, that's my definition, and mostly everybody's definition of cover one. There are some different, different adjustments that teams can make with it, but that's it for the most part. And Texas was a pattern match coverage team, so they played a lot of match zone, which is a hybrid of man and zone. You basically match up with the player that comes into your zone. You match that player, and that becomes your man. So that's what Texas played a lot of. I think they want to get to some straight up man. Go look at the players they're recruiting. We just talked about Hayward Howard, the young man they just got the commitment from in 2026. Go look at his frame. He's like 6'2". Talked about Cade Phillips, dude's long, rangy. I think at one point, not only do they want to play more cover one, they want to play more press man. I think that's the goal. So they don't want to just be a man coverage team overall. That's just really hard to do. They're still going to be reasonable. I think PK will have them between, my guess is 25%, if they're really good at it, maybe even 30% man coverage. I think what they really want to increase is the press man coverage situationally.
Rod, talk press man situation. Is that one of the reasons why they want to guard against RPO game?
Yep, it works. It works. Yep, and Nick Saban has talked about that. I mean, it's the best way to match up. The NFL actually is playing more press because of RPOs.
Yeah.
So it's the best way to match because you can isolate the RPO then then you take away the quick glance.
That's what pissed me off whenever they would play 7 yards off the line.
Yeah.
When you're playing a team back when, when PK first got here, and I say pissed me off. I mean, what am I? When they first got here, they were playing 7 yards off with Deshaun Jameson, and it's because he would get beat at the line a lot.
Yeah.
He's smaller, right? But if he played off, it was like, that was an easy read, man.
Too easy.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's, to your point, you got to have the personnel, though, to do that. And it's not that Deshaun Jameson is not a good corner. He made the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It's that, certain aspects of Deshaun Jameson may not be the same, right? The other thing I would say, I do want to add this to your comment about the secondary. I talked to someone yesterday about it, and we were talking about it, and there's really 8 guys right now, it sounds like, that are kind of maybe making some headway there. Michael Taft and Jelani McDonald at safety, along with Derek Williams. You don't know where he's at in his recovery yet. At nickel, it's Jalen Gilbo / Wardell Mack, but Jalen Gilbo is still getting a look outside. He's trying to make it a run there. And then you've got guys like Warren Roberson, Manny Muhammad, and then also Cade Phillips was mentioned to me. The thing that I had the discussion around is, why haven't they kind of did they finalize any answers this spring? Okay. And I was told, no, not really. They don't care. That wasn't the purpose, was to get everything installed and ready to go. But guys like Cade Phillips, who are freshmen, there's a high ceiling there.
Yeah.
And so there's no reason to cap that ceiling before you even get to summertime and training camp in fall camp. So basically, I'm not saying this is done or anything, but there's a lot of maneuvering still left to go in the secondary at this point.
Yep. And honestly, I like, Jeff's point. Jeff was talking about this on one of our live streams. Considering you have that Ohio State game and then maybe the best wide receiving core in the country, you got the first game of the season, and then the talent you talked about, some of that younger talent, like a Cade Phillips or even Derek Williams coming back, right, to full strength, may take a little longer. I wouldn't be surprised if the secondary does evolve and look very different in that game one, of course, because you better have players you can trust immediately in there right away against Ohio State. And then later on in the season, as you get to SEC play or deeper into SEC play, that some of those other guys are other elements. Derek Williams is back to full health. Jelani McDonald may be moving around a little bit. Maybe you trust one of those younger corners to solidify that spot opposite Malik Muhammad, that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind with that secondary too. All right. Juan here with a super chat says, Jerry or Bobby, is Texas talent-wise almost like USC in 2005 in talent, or not yet?
Man, that's a great question. And so I was looking at their 04 roster while you guys were talking DBs, and
they have 4 starting NFL offensive linemen.
Their offensive line was unbelievably talented. Like their 2 deep was 7 NFL guys, maybe 8
on the O line.
On the O line, looking back at it, defensive line, same.
Linebackers were loaded too.
I mean, that was a loaded roster. I mean,
their secondary was not great.
No, secondary wasn't that. Yeah, that 7 was nasty though.
They had more names than they had great players like Darnell Bing, Scott Ware, Josh Pinkard, Ryan Ting, Eric Wright. They were the more the names. You know what's crazy is their receivers were good. I mean, obviously their running back room was really good. Their offensive crazy. They had an SEC team. Their offensive and defensive lines were stout.
Yep,
stout. Tight ends were really good. They had a number of tight ends.
Their running back room, here's what people don't remember. Their running back room was not just Lindale White and Reggie Bush. And Cedric Griffin now, he altered the course of that game. Dave Kurtman
knocked him out.
The fullback.
Yep.
He knocked him out in the first half, or the first quarter, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, knocked him cold, knocked the helmet off, went flying. Kurtman didn't know where he was. I mean, he got back to the sideline. You know, he didn't maybe know which one was the right one. But he never came back. That Brandon, both those guys played in the NFL. I mean, both the fullbacks.
Wow.
I mean, Sark ran a bunch of I formation stuff. But, I mean,
that 04 offensive line they had was, Bobby, you ranked a lot of those guys. Fred Matua, Jeff Byers, number 1 center of country, Radovich. You go down, Ryan Khalil. I mean,
Latui.
Winston Justice, Latui, Sam Baker, Kyle Williams. I mean, dadgum, that offensive line, man.
Winston Justice was a first-rounder.
Yeah, I mean, that they may have been too deep with NFL players.
Who was more loaded, the 2005 USC or 2001 Miami?
2001 Miami.
Oh,
that's the most loaded team of all time. I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, that team.
How many Hall of Famers did 2001 Miami have?
I mean, we did this on a coffee and football one day. I'm pulling up the list. It's ridiculous. Their running back room was all Hall of Fame players, man. Their running back room was Clinton Portis, Frank Gore, not Davenport wasn't a pro. Willis McGahee and Najee Davenport was their 4 deep at running back. I mean, look at their DBs: Antrell Roll, Mike Huff, Ed Reed.
They all went first round, I think.
Sean Taylor was a backup on that team. Philip Buchanan was a first rounder. Their D line was totally nasty.
Andre Johnson at wide receiver.
Jonathan Vilma.
Good.
I mean, their D line, Vince Wilfork, you couldn't run inside or outside on them. William Joseph, Jerome McDougal. I mean, it was Jamal Green.
Hey,
number 78 right there is pretty freaking good.
Yes, first pick.
Kenny.
I mean, that's the most talented hot college roster I've ever seen in my life.
Hey, we should have got our chance to play him. I would say.
Dylan Winslow was a backup. Yeah.
We screwed it up.
Rod could have gone up against Andre Johnson.
Hey,
that would have been jam. That would have been jam.
No, I'll say this, though. They did have not a weakness, but I think Ken Dorsey, I believe, is starting the quarterback for them.
See, I told Jerry this.
I disagree with Bobby on this.
You take to me, we wouldn't have to worry about the rest of them because we taking down Ken Dorsey. He's the guy we're going after. Because we can't defend that roster. There ain't no way. We're gonna lose more of those one-on-ones and we're gonna win.
See, I think Dorsey was like a tremendous college quarterback. Now, because the stats don't show it, but the game was played vertically back then. It wasn't dink and dump. It wasn't horizontal passes. So, like, that guy, strengths probably weren't even used. He was just throwing the ball to first and second round picks. I thought he was a really good college quarterback, but he wasn't a great player, to your point.
He got beat by Craig Krenzel.
That Ohio State roster was loaded too.
I was a loaded roster. Yeah.
I just telling you, he minded the store. That's all he did. He was a great special about Ken Dorsey. I agree with Rod. And me and Jerry have had this conversation before. And Rod B, you just came down on the Bobby Burton side of that argument.
I'm not saying we to beat him or anything like that.
Hold on.
I'm just saying.
Follow up. You all are both on the spot. Would Texas have been better with Ken Dorsey or Quinn Ewers last year?
Oh, come on.
I think it's a fair question. I'd go with Quinn.
Dorsey.
I think the Dorsey problem is, I will say this. Larry Coker's offense had left something to be desired. He was not a prolific offense type guy, even though he had Frank Gore and Willis McGahee and all those guys. So Andre Johnson. But I was never a Ken Dorsey believer, and I think he's the reason they lost that in the Ohio State defense. Ohio State defense was better than Ken Dorsey.
Yeah.
By the way,
Malcolm Jenkins was a corner, and they had good DBs. They had a good front seven.
By the way, Butch Davis, that was probably, but considering that roster was built while on probation at the beginning, that may have been the most well-evaluated roster in the history of college football.
Yeah, he was good.
Because they couldn't afford to miss on players.
That's fair.
Just a fun discussion. Texas Border says Quinn Dorsey isn't beating ASU on 4th and 13. I'm not sure it would have been a 4th and 13 needed. That's the difference.
Yeah, the turnovers is the only thing with Quinn. So I don't know. Dorsey? I think Dorsey had like 12 interceptions his last year. That's a lot of interceptions. But Quinn.
It was all vertical game, though. They were throwing the ball down the field.
No, it wasn't. He dumped down to the tight end because of Larry Coker's offense. It wasn't. I thought Quinn Dorsey was very similar to Quinn in that he was not very mobile. He tried to be functionally mobile, and he wasn't. And I don't think he actually threw as nice a ball as Quinn. So that's why I went with Quinn.
I agree with the ball thing. His ball wasn't as nice as Quinn.
No, it was more Major Applewhite-ish in there.
that's not bad.
And Major had a better touch deep. Major was just 5'10", I know he's 6 foot, but
hey, I want to answer this one. Syracuse Horn. I so miss what Chris Owens could have been. I've always maintained Texas 2001, TJ's freshman year, they could have got to the Final Four if he didn't tear his ACL in Game 11. Chris Owens was averaging 16 points and 8 rebounds and 2 blocks a game when he tore his ACL. By the time TJ and those guys got acclimated, Syracuse Horn, they may have been a Final Four team that year. They may have gone the back-to-back. That was a huge injury for that team early in the season. Huge.
All right, Catch the Wave X with a super chat here. He said, with Ohio State replacing both coordinators, how are they still favored week 1? Well, at home, what's the line? Like 3.5 or something? It's at home.
2.5, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2.5.
2.5, 3. I mean, you're in the range.
It's a great question.
Personnel. I mean, we've got great personnel.
I think it's home game.
It's at home.
That's another piece of it too.
Because Ohio State is a first-time starting quarterback. They lost more players to the draft or eligibility than any other team last year that was in the playoffs. They lost both coordinators. They're coming off a title, so will they be as focused? I don't know. I think it's that stumped me too. I actually had a discussion this weekend. A bunch of Ohio State fans live in South Florida, by the way. I had a discussion about that around the dinner this weekend. That it's odd to me a little bit. I think it's home field, right?
It's home field because you get 3 points. Well, usually that's what they say. 3 points for home field, depending on what that line is, whatever. Maybe it's 3.5, 2.5, whatever it is. Most of that is because they're playing at home. So I think that's where it is. But I haven't looked at the line in a while. And I probably won't pay that much attention to it. But I know Ohio State's been favored, since the line came out. And I have no problem with that. They're defending champions. I'm cool with that. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
I'm totally fine with it too. I think that there are 3 or 4 teams that if you lined them up 1 to 85 that would compete with Texas. Ohio State is one of those very few teams that would do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just point blank.
They got a couple of guys that can put 21 points on the board.
Quick.
And they got two guys who are considered the best players at their position overall. I mean, Jeremiah Smith's considered the best receiver in the country. I mean, Caleb Downs considered the best safety in the country. And that's just the guys we know about. They got a bunch of dudes they've been stacking talent for a while that we already know.
They got offensive line, they got running backs, they got defensive line, they got linebackers.
Yeah. I'll also add this. I wrote something on OnTexasFootball.com this morning about it because we got in that discussion on coffee and football. That environment's going to be wild. I think they're factoring in some of that too. I mean, the last time Texas played up there was VY to Swede, and they went on to win the national championship. Now you have Arch Manning's first real start as the starting quarterback at Texas. And the buildup that's going to be starting, July for that game, really, at SEC Media Days. You're probably going to have Fox Big Noon kickoff and ESPN Game Day there. There's going to be a massive environment Texas will have to overcome in that game. I think that's probably factoring into it.
Probably be an 11 o'clock kick, just like Michigan, though.
Yeah.
So that could be a good thing.
Hey, Rod, what do you always say? Sark with 5-6 months to prepare.
I don't know. I just think Sark in those big non-con games, man, he's been money. Both times playing Alabama, Michigan, he'll have those guys ready to go. Yeah, I have no doubt about it. I'm picking Texas. I'm just going with the trend early on. All right, thank you for that super chat. Catch the wave X. Let's thank our friends over at Rogue Shop. We'll answer some more questions before we end tonight's live stream, but let's thank our friends over at rogueshop.com. We appreciate their support of On Texas Football, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Use the discount code On Texas. You see it right there on your screen, and you can get a very special discount from our very special friends over at Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. They have it all from oils and creams to flour, gummies, and vitamins. They ship nationwide, no matter where you are in this great country of ours. Our friends over at rogueshop.com, they can ship their fantastic products to you. Actually had a member of the On Texas Football family tell me they were dealing with some sleep deprivation issues, couldn't get a good night's sleep. They tried a few of the items over at Rogue Shop, and they've been sleeping like a baby ever since. So maybe it'll work for you. It worked for them. Check them out, rogueshop.com. Use that code On Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our friends over at rogueshop.com, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. And we really appreciate them and their support of On Texas Football. All right, Jason here has a question. Says, can you guys tell us exactly what the house settlement is? Yeah.
We can attempt. How about that? Let's attempt to say what it is.
All right. They actually do have I'll just give you what the actual NCAA kind of the website says about it. Says the House versus NCAA, Carter versus NCAA, and Hubbard versus NCAA cases resulted in a landmark settlements. Those settlements total $2.8 billion in the lawsuits. Essentially, the reason that they are being sued is because the case arose from NCAA's policies preventing college athletes from monetizing their name, image, and likeness and earning other compensation beyond scholarships. The settlements address these issues and aim to reshape college sports going forward so they won't be sued again. So basically, not only do they need to settle, they got, and I think it's like $2.8 billion. They got to come up with to settle the lawsuits. All right. But then they have to kind of change the whole entire structure of college sports so that they don't continue to get sued, because they can't afford to continue to get sued because they keep losing in court. They've lost in court for the last, I don't know, what guys, we're going on maybe 5, 6, ever since 2018, they can't win a case in court, pretty much.
Yeah. Only thing they're winning on now is this eligibility marker that they had, the 4 versus 5 years. They're winning some of those. But Rod's right. I mean, here's what it does. It also paves the way for players to be paid from the universities themselves, from their proceeds. So while previously it was done through collectives, now the actual universities themselves can earmark a certain sum. As part of the House settlement, they're earmarking $20 million a year from each school to go to players. In Texas's case, and a lot of the FBS football schools, it is basically $15 million a year to football, $2.5 to $3 million in basketball, and then another $2 million to the rest of the sports beyond scholarships. So that's the other part of the House settlement that is there. I will say this, Jason. The preliminary settlement was approved. Now they're into the final stages of approval, and they are waiting on that as soon as this week. So we're not fully there, right? But it's getting close, to Rod's point. And there's just, whether it's the House settlement, Rod and Jerry, or what the future, this presidential commission that came up last week, where Nick Saban and Texas Tech mega booster Cody Campbell, who he is the new Boone Pickens, by the way.
Oh, that's good.
He is the new Boone Pickens.
That's a good one, Bobby.
I don't know where all of this is going. I think that right now we got to see what happens, because it's too much. It's too much uncertainty. While college football has never been a better product, in my opinion, in part because of NIL, like kids stayed in school this year. Still, like Jahdae Barron could have went and been a 3rd or 4th round pick last year. Stays in school because of NIL, in part. Makes more money, but that makes a better product. On the field. If we don't get some certitude or certainty behind the scenes, it's eventually going to creep into the actual play. Don't know when that'll be. My big worry right now is actually not in football and making football, because I think football actually is going to, with the 15 million, that they're going to be people that are going to be still good. But think about a Big East basketball school right now that doesn't have a single football sport. Think about Marquette, for example.
No doubt.
All of a sudden, they could, if they wanted to, they could spend $20 million on their basketball roster, compared to Texas that might spend 2.5 to 3. Or 5.
Yeah, I have a question. How does Notre Dame factor in the House settlement from a football standpoint?
They're going to do the 20. They'll follow the rules, they said. They've already come out and said that. The one, like, here's one, Connecticut. They play football. No. You think they're going to give 3/4 of their money to the football team?
No. Women's basketball gets a big chunk.
Men's basketball gets a big chunk.
Women and men's basketball get a big chunk. Sure.
Yeah. So my point is, they're acting like this is going to be a great equalizer in college sports. The House settlement with the $20 million, it's not, because people are going to. Oklahoma is going to spend some of its money probably on women's softball.
We've talked about this. All that's going to happen is we're going back to, I jokingly call it car house recruitments. People aren't just going to take the people aren't just going to say, oh, okay, we're done. So we can't get the extra 2 players we need. No. It's not the way it works. And whatever your sport is in your area, in your region, it's not going to work that way. No chance.
Yeah. Man, time.
We've all been around this long enough to know.
Yeah.
If anybody in the SEC region says, nope, you're done at that point, people are going to be like, y'all know how we've done things for years down here, guys. Y'all just sit back and watch.
That's one of the reasons why Nick Saban's on a presidential commission to limit NIL or put guardrails on it. Is Tommy Tuberville was at Ole Miss and Auburn.
CB, how much does Texas Quidditch get? I don't know. It's gonna be tough on the Quidditch guys. They got a little. They won some championships over there in Quidditch, though, I'm sure. All right, thank you for that. Carlos Sanchez for the super chat here says, "Who replaces Sark when the time comes? CDC Clutch."
That's a tough question because you don't know the when.
I agree.
Look, you just don't know. Like the guy you want in. Say 4 years, say Sark said, I won a title, I'm going to the NFL. It could be Kenny Dillingham, but maybe he's the head coach at Oregon at that time or something. Or at USC. It's like, it's hard to know because you don't know where people are going to be. If you talk about guys who are in jobs right now, if Dillingham were to go to the playoffs again at Arizona State, he's probably the next head coach at Oklahoma. He'd be at the top of anybody's list if he went and made the playoffs 2 years in a row at Arizona State. That guy went from 3-9 to the playoffs in 1 year and didn't have a big NIL budget. I mean, look, Cam Scatterbo didn't even
make Michigan next year, by the way.
Yeah. Cam Scatterbo didn't even make $100,000 last year. I was told late last week. He wasn't even 100. Cam Scatterbo didn't even make $100K in NIL last year.
Damn. That's crazy. Guy was Heisman finalist, didn't make that's crazy. But it shows you, I mean, that's a credit to Dillingham, him building his roster construction and building that program. And I would say for Dillingham, I think he can do. It's crazy to say that with Oklahoma. I don't know. I think I'd stay away from that job if I was Dillingham. I would. I know Oklahoma's a power, but I'm not sure where they're going in this new day and age, this new landscape we were just talking about. I would kind of go with a program right now that is more progressive and seems to be a little bit more forward thinking.
USC if Lincoln Riley flames out.
Yeah, because I'm scared of Oklahoma. I'm not scared. I'm happy that Oklahoma's struggling. But if I'm a coach looking at programs and projecting, I don't know how Oklahoma projects in the new landscape of college sports.
We talked about this when it happened, when they went to the SEC. They're the outer edge of the conference. And it happened to Arkansas in the SEC. I mean, Arkansas was a good program before they went to the SEC. Now they're very middle of the road, lower tier. And even though Oklahoma has even a better history than Arkansas did, much prouder in the last 40 years for sure, but last 25, 30 really, the Oklahoma is in that situation where they just don't have the endemic talent to that state. They have good talent in that state. Don't get me wrong, really good, but they just don't have the numbers. And so when you give an LSU as much access to the state of Texas as you do in Oklahoma, and LSU has more talent in state,
that
gives an LSU a much bigger chance. And I would say it's the same thing that happened in Nebraska going to the Big Ten. You know, it's one of those schools that had this unbelievable tradition, and sometimes the grass isn't always greener.
I'll throw a name out there that's going to get interesting in the next couple of years. I think we would all agree we thought Matt Campbell should have left Iowa State in 2020, right after the season he had, whether it was NFL or waiting on a couple of jobs. But obviously, no matter what people think, the guy's a tremendous coach. Nobody's ever done at Iowa State what he's done and continues to do. If he makes a college football playoff in the next couple of years, could where college sports is heading actually force his hand to take a different job, a bigger job?
Let me ask you
this. Be wanted by a lot of people.
Let me ask you this. Is he a great coach or a great evaluator?
He does more with less, but
maybe
I don't know. I don't know about that. He had an awful freaking lot.
No,
he had Brees Hall and
that's kind of my point about
7 and 5.
He does more with less, but oftentimes we'll do less with more because when he had his best teams, he underachieved. But when nobody expects Iowa State to win, that's when Iowa State's at their best.
I'm just saying this. I mean, those two receivers he had.
Oh yeah, NFL guys.
I think he's a really good evaluator of talent. I think that may be that is his secret sauce, along with his defensive style. Marry those two things together. I'm not. So in other words, Jerry's right. He probably should have left. Jerry's not wrong. My point is, how good an X and O's coach is he versus how good an evaluator and developer is. Pretty good developer, and evaluator, because those running backs he has right now, they're legit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quarterback, we'll see what he does without the two receivers, but he's an NFL quarterback. He may be the. I mean, how many Big 12 teams right now have NFL quarterbacks? Baylor, probably Iowa State, maybe Texas Tech. Anybody else? Oh, Arizona State does.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Yeah. It's safe. Yeah,
I like that. It's a good take.
He'd be like if you said Oklahoma came open next year, he'd be a hell of a hire for Oklahoma.
Yes,
it would be. I agree. Yeah, that's a great hire for Oklahoma right there. Yeah,
so that's the question: is NIL and where college sports headed, football headed, going to force him to make a move from Iowa State? That's going to be interesting to watch.
They're trying right now. Iowa State, interestingly, we were talking about house settlement. Well, where does this $20 million come from for teams like Iowa State, who are already running at a budget neutral or budget negative? They're asking the state to pitch in for NIL.
Yeah.
To give money towards their university because they say their football program brings a lot of money to the city of Ames, surrounding areas through tax revenue. So they're actually some schools, because this is so deep, they're asking for taxpayer funding. And they're not as self-funding as the University of Texas is.
I know. And what do schools do who can't even get that? I mean, you can't play ball.
We ain't got it yet. They don't have it yet.
That's crazy.
That's the crazy thing. If the house settlement, if the can gets kicked down the road, I mean, Iowa State's in no man's land. A program like that, his hand will be forced at some point. I really think to move on, even though he probably doesn't want to.
Good point, Jared. All right,
Bobby. Last, real quick on Cody Campbell. Rod and I were talking about it before the show. Do you think anything Cody Campbell's doing is to try to position Tech to be in one of the two super conferences at the end of the day?
Oh yeah,
that's what I think his whole deal is. That's his whole goal, right? At the end of the day,
I mean,
I don't either.
It's not even so much two super conferences. He just wants them to be in whatever it is ending up going to look like. He doesn't care whether it's Big Ten, SEC, if it's the AFL and the NFC, or he just doesn't. He just wants Tech to have a seat at the table. It's not about the two super conferences. Just give them a seat at the table.
All right, Michael with a super chat says, "What is your dream play-by-play and analyst you would like to hear call today's college football? Can be anyone past or present." Hook 'em. Thank you, Michael, for the super chat. I'm gonna just throw Craig Way out there. I'm gonna be Craig Way. I'll be a homer. Craig Way. I love me some Craig Way. What do you got?
Mine would probably be more national. Keith Jackson was always my favorite.
Yeah, for sure.
Just
put him with Lundquist and let him go to town.
Yeah, well, but they were not analysts. They weren't analysts. They were play-by-play.
Yeah.
Who would be the analyst? Like a Gary Danielson or a Frank Broyles back in the day was actually pretty good. Dan Fouts called the national championship game.
Jackson and Fouts was a great combo.
Yeah. You know who else was good at play-by-play? God rest his soul, by the way. Mike Patrick, the former. Ron Franklin was really good at play-by-play. Just putting some names out there. Yeah, I don't know who I would choose as my analyst. Maybe John Madden. Oh. And I know that's not college football, but he was probably the
awesome.
You know what I mean? He was kind of fun.
Yeah. No, you learn something and make it entertaining. That was the thing. No doubt.
If you ever get a chance to watch, if you want excellence in broadcasting, so to speak, watch. There's a YouTube show. It's about John Madden basically slobbering on Larry Allen, the offensive guard for the Dallas Cowboys. Okay. It is literally a 3-minute, my God, I have a man crush on Larry Allen. And all Larry Allen does in that entire series is wipe out whoever he's going. Annihilate. He makes John Madden look like he's like the most brilliant announcer of all time. Because they ISO him and all he does is knock the guy into the end zone 3 years.
Yeah, I think I remember talking about Larry Allen's butt a lot too. Like he would search and tell us straight, look at this big butt here. See, this is where he gets all his strength from, right there. And I'm like, oh man, look at it. All right.
I've always thought a funny one would be to take the two guys that announced the Plano East John Tyler playoff game and throw them into the USC Texas national title game and just see what would have happened. just let them call the game and just see what would have happened.
Oh, that's good stuff. All right, Splendid Daddy here with our last super chat of the night. He says, if Arch goes into the horseshoe and goes for 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a win, how crazy does the hype get? Does it become detrimental? I'll say this, Splendid Daddy. The hype is, I mean, I don't even know how crazy the hype train is going to get, but it's already pretty wild because when Derek Carr recently retired, one of the top kind of storylines coming out of the retirement was, oh, they're taking for Arch. I'm like, really? They're taking for Arch? That's where we're going with this thing? So that's already out there. Even though it's actually probably a more reasonable prediction that they're tanking for Nussmeier because Nussmeier's dad, like the OC with the Saints now, I believe. And Garrett Nussmeier is the quarterback at LSU, keeping the state. That's more likely, but still the Arch, taking for Arch thing, that's kind of taking over the Twitterverse. So there's no question. I mean, the Arch hype is out of control. If he plays well in that game and balls out, yeah. I mean, he's already got the top odds to win the Heisman last time I looked. And that was like last week.
I think he'd be the most talked about college player since Tim Tebow.
Rod, you and I, we talked about this on Coffee and Football, but I can't remember if you and I talked about it. I know I sent it on our internal group chat of the team. Did you read that Yahoo Sports article that I sent that broke down why Arch is considered the prospect he's considered by NFL teams?
Yeah, it was a good Nate Tice, I thought, right? Nate,
Nick Tice wrote it. Yeah. Did you read that? Did anything surprise you in that article? Or that you took home and said that you read that really registered with you, I guess?
No, he just talked about how clean all of his like mechanics and footwork are. And I was thinking about I was listening to, was it Greg Cosell, I believe, who does NFL films, talking about Quinn. He was talking about how sloppy Quinn's like footwork is and how the mechanics are all off. And he just, I think I was reading that Nate Tyson, I'm just paraphrasing, that everything looks clean, like the footwork, the mechanics, like there's not a lot of that to clean up. And with Quinn, there was a ton of that to clean up. Matter of fact, I don't even know if Quinn ever necessarily totally cleaned it up. And if you're the starting point, I think, for Arch is basically what I got out of the article is that the starting point for him is so much more advanced than the starting point for a lot of high caliber, high level elite QBs. And that's probably because of the pedigree and, I mean, the coaching that he's gotten ever since he was 8-9 years old has been coaching that most people wouldn't get from the best coaches in the NFL. And he's getting it from Unc and getting it from, from grandfather and that kind of stuff. So,
and he put in the work too, clearly.
Yes. Yeah, no doubt. No, he put in the work, but yes, that article is pretty in depth, but it's like he doesn't get into a lot of like the flaws. I was looking for, is he going to break? Because scouting, usually they kind of break down a player's skill set.
There was no but.
Yes. I was like, well, where's going to tell us, the liabilities in his skill set and what he's got to work on. And he got into a little bit of that, but it was very vague. And he really didn't talk much about the downside of his skill set. Because I don't know. And we talked about it. I asked Coach about it and CJ. He doesn't have much. I think we got into he's got to learn how to, check it down and take what the defense is giving him. I think Quinn's better on those short, quick throws, the screen passes from different platforms. He's got to get better at that, but it's not much. It ain't much for a quarterback who only started 2 games. Yeah. No, it's.
Well, yes, the hype's going to be amazing, Splendid Daddy.
It's going to be ridiculous. Thank you, Splendid Daddy, and thank you all you guys out there for the super chats. Really appreciate it. Thanks to Matthew behind the scenes, the real MVP. We appreciate Matthew and all of his hard work. If we missed any of your questions or comments, we apologize about that. Please direct them to the guys at Coffee and Football. These gentlemen, it'll be Jerry and Bobby bright and early tomorrow for Coffee and Football at 8:15. We also have the winning drive tomorrow. That'll be myself, Coach Bob Shipley, and CJ Vogel. We'll have that at 3:15. So if you missed any of your questions, you can direct them to either one of those live shows tomorrow. And thank you to our sponsor, Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. Remember to use that discount code on Texas. And happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. Thank you guys for taking time on this special day to be with us. We think of you guys as family. So on special holidays, I'm glad you guys could spend it with your family and with us as well. All right. So thank you to Bobby. Thank you, Jerry. And thank you to Matthew behind the scenes. Thank you to Rogue Shop. And until next time, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Hook 'em horns.
Hug 'em.